This is the problem, right, that a lot of doctors are facing because, personally, I see the LinkedIn is becoming more like Facebook, where it's like, how many followers have you got? How many likes have you? And like at the end of the day, LinkedIn does reward you for being a creator and creating content. So it's got several elements to keep you doing it. But it then enables you to lose sight of the bigger goal. LinkedIn is a tool, right? It's a tool to leverage so that you can turn whatever you're doing, your posts, your likes, into cash. Hello, it is a Sunday and I've decided to go and do a podcast episode. That is how I use my time. And today it's going to be about the big L word, right? The big L word for LinkedIn, right? So when doctors start working with me, or even when they're considering developing their career or growing their career on in general, non-clinical industry, they're like, oh, I need to post on LinkedIn more. That's like step number one, right? No, that's not what you need to do. And this is the problem that I see. I see a lot of doctors now, like increasing the number of doctors, which is great on LinkedIn, using it, being more visible. And that is something I always celebrate. However, what you see on the surface is not necessarily getting people the results, right? So what I'm going to talk to you about today is how many people, let alone doctors, are actually simply just wasting time on LinkedIn. And if you're someone that's really serious about leveraging LinkedIn as a tool, so I use that L word again, well, for leveraging LinkedIn as a tool to get really great outcomes for yourself, then listen on. Right. So I've got a little story to tell you. So obviously I speak to doctors all the time, at least 5-10 different doctors a day at the moment. And I actually sat down recently with a doctor who was really getting serious about using LinkedIn to get new opportunities, right? So, she showed me her phone and she was scrolling through her posts, and every post was pretty similar where, grateful for another day of serving patients. I really love my niche. Here's why. And she'd get like 47 likes, 23 comments. What's your biggest health worry? Share below, 85 reactions. And you'd see like a picture, a picture of her, different picture every single time, right? Great. She's visible. Like, don't get me wrong. I celebrate that. And she loved the engagement. She loved the likes. But one thing just really struck me is that it was so easy to get caught up in the gamification of LinkedIn, right? And so I asked her, like, tell me more, like, what is it that you're getting out of these posts? Because she's probably posted about 200 times a year. Like, how many opportunities have you actually gotten from LinkedIn? And then she paused and she was like, well, I've had a few approaches, which is great. I had a few calls out of that, discovery calls, but it wasn't clear that anything actually stuck from that, right? And so, like, this is the problem, right, that a lot of doctors are facing because, personally, I see the LinkedIn is becoming more like Facebook, where it's like, how many followers have you got? How many likes have you? And like at the end of the day, LinkedIn does reward you for being a creator and creating content. So it's got several elements to keep you doing it. But it then enables you to lose sight of the bigger goal. LinkedIn is a tool, right? It's a tool to leverage so that you can turn whatever you're doing, your posts, your likes, into cash. So if you do not have a strategy to do that, all of your time, all of those hours, and I know a lot of you probably spend an hour to write one post, let alone a comment, is wasted. Remember, time is one of our greatest, most precious resources. So even though you've got visibility and you're using it for validation, you need to be using visibility for actually converting into cash, so into conversions. So cash meaning getting new clients, getting an actual new paid opportunity, because there's lots of free opportunities going around, we know that, paid opportunities and really building your thought leadership so that turns into paid opportunities, right? At the end of the day, we're there to be paid, but we're also there to influence, right? So we can help more people at scale. But we can't help more people at scale if we're not looking after ourselves. So that is the gas mask on thing, right? So the problem is, like, likes do not necessarily equal leads. About 60 to 70 plus people on LinkedIn are probably liking your post, watching your post, and will never do anything. They will never do anything, right? Those people are a waste of your time, realistically. So most people on LinkedIn are consumers. They're not doers, right? And it's really important to recognize that views don't necessarily mean that your audience is getting value. Well, I'm sure they will be, but it's not always a direct correlation, right? So your goal is really to be strategic with LinkedIn. As I said, LinkedIn, it rewards conversation, but it doesn't necessarily get you the results that you want, right? So here's a roadmap that will help you to navigate actually doing the least amount possible to get the most in the way of conversions, right? So the least amount possible to get the most in conversions. I'm all about MVPs, the minimum viable products, lowest hanging fruit. Don't spend all of your time on this because it will consume you, and make things easy for yourself. So the first thing is you need to, and this is part of our roadmap, by the way. So for those of you who are on our program, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of you who've been to any of our live masterclasses, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is our Doctors in Industry roadmap, right? And so the first part of that roadmap, so this is the roadmap to success, the roadmap to your career for the rest of your life, right? And the roadmap you can keep on going back to regardless of what you're doing, even clinical, right? So the first step is clarity. So I always talk about niche the fuck down. So niche the fuck down. So what does that mean? It means, for example, don't just be in health tech. It means be in med tech where you're working with specific companies who, for example, only work on sleep tech that is related to watches or something along those lines. So what I was trying to do there is to niche down, to be very specific about who you work with and what problem you solve. And a lot of doctors are there essentially to be visible, but not really clear on who they're actually looking to target. So the way that I work, I only work with ambitious doctors who are in early stage or growing their industry career and are looking for community and mentorship and wanting to get to their goals with leadership and business fast, right? So I don't work with all doctors. That is my niche. And I niche down, like you'll see me every few months, I'll say something even more niche, right? So the whole idea is to speak specifically to your audience and repeat that message again and again. So in order to be effective at that, one, you need to make sure that your audience on LinkedIn are predominantly your niche or can link you to your niche, because then you'll just get lots of people who are just celebrating you, which is nice. You get the validation, but remember, it's not Facebook. You're here to actually get results. So it's really important that you focus on connecting with people who are in your niche to get really high quality results. The second is the mindset. It's the mindset and the confidence, right? So it's really important to get over, and we get this regardless of how successful you are with doctors all the time. I need to get more qualifications before I have the authority to say anything about anything, right? So you need to be qualified in the area and work in the area, maybe be a professor and have been doing it for some time. That is the old rules, particularly the medical rules, and that does not apply now. If you're passionate about something and you're on a journey to find out more about it and you want to talk to people about it, you talk yesterday about it, right? No one's going to be asking for your qualifications in that, right? And the people who are most willing, who are most passionate, who are most geeky are the ones that get the opportunities fastest, right? And this is where it goes back to niche. Be specific about the problem that you're solving or what you're most interested in, right? And so for those people who are like, oh, I need to get to 10,000 followers before I can actually get an opportunity, or I need to get more likes, no. I've posted, and I've seen fellows post with less than 500 connections and have been invited to investor breakfasts, have gotten contracts, have gotten approaches, have gotten job offers, less than 500, like literally just started on LinkedIn. So don't tell yourself these lies that doesn't serve you moving forward, right? You just have to have the right strategy, the right conversations, and the right focus. And the third bit is obviously be clear on what you're selling. So we've got the visibility bit, right? But be clear on what you're selling. So all of us, we are selling our expertise as doctors. We're selling our expertise. We're selling our network. We're selling our real desire and passion to go and help more people at scale, right? And so whenever you're posting, think about who am I talking to and what action do I want them to take? At the end of the day, you need conversations. LinkedIn is a tool, like a stethoscope is a tool, like a scalpel is a tool. It's a tool to get you to the result, which is a new opportunity, growing your client base, you name it. So you need to have something that you can actually sell, right? And so you need to be clear. And how are you going to get people, and we talk about this all the time in our program, how are you going to get people into your sales funnel, right? And so the easiest way is to invite people through a Calendly link to have a call, right? To have a call with them and to talk about what you do. But most importantly, find out more about them to see if they're a good fit for you, the problems that you're solving. And I always talk about problem solving rather than having a title, right? And so you need to be clear, and you also need to be clear on what your value is in the market. That's not something I'm going to go into at the moment. And you may have heard me talk about it in other podcasts. But just to recap, to actually get down to conversions, you need to be clear. You need to have a great mindset, and you also need to be clear on what you're selling. Yeah, so clarity, have a great mindset, and be clear on what you're selling. And obviously the last part of that is also the visibility, right? So if you're on LinkedIn, you are visible, but be visible to the right people. Posting is not something you absolutely have to do to be visible. I know a lot of people who get results just by commenting. Commenting is probably one of the most underused strategies ever, because if you comment on other people's posts, especially if they have large audiences or a lot of engagement, you will likely get seen, right? And people will mention you, etc., etc. So don't feel like you have to think of developing lots of content. Commenting on its own is really, really great. And so 80% of those tractions comes from having a conversation, not necessarily just posting, right? So if you just wanted to comment, follow people who have large audiences or follow people who say really interesting things and are in your niche, and then start having conversations, right? So this is an overview of how to really focus on using LinkedIn as a tool for conversions rather than using LinkedIn as a way to validate how you feel about yourself. Because, like, just to be honest, like a lot of us do that. I mean, I've done that for a very long time. But what I found is that if you rely on that, you will always be chasing the thing that you will never win. You see people who have like hundreds of thousands of connections, and you think, oh my God, they must be amazing, etc., etc. But if they're not converting, if they're not converting into cash and they have a strategy behind it, they are totally wasted their time. Because LinkedIn in particular, they can shut your account down, and that's all your contacts, all your leads, all your IP gone overnight. It has happened to some people I know. So be smart, have a strategy, and focus on conversions, not just likes. And obviously, if you want to hear more about how I or my team can help you really grow your industry career this year, then go to doctorsinindustry.com. That's doctorsinindustry.com, and click the link. We'll basically take you through a self-assessment quiz just to make sure it is the right thing for you. You'll be invited for a call if it is the right thing for you and you score high enough, because we only work with a very small amount of people. And then you'll speak to one of my team who will take you through an interview. And if it's a good fit, then hey, I'll be seeing you on the other side. Take care.